Namaste to everyone. Today in this lecture, we are going to have a detailed discussion and analysis of Great Nicobar Island Transshipment Project and the conservation pathways for the Shompens. In recent months, national and international media have reported extensively on the proposed Great Nicobar Island Transshipment Port project at Galathea Bay, presenting it as India's gateway to becoming a maritime hub like Singapore. Yet much of the public discourse has overlooked the ground realities, the fragile ecology of the island and the precious survival of the India's indigenous inhabitants, particularly the Shompens, one of the world's most isolated and vulnerable tribal communities. As an anthropologist and as a scholar of future studies, I speak not from a distance but from a direct, long-term fieldwork. For over 12 years, I have conducted research on the tribes, ecology and environment of Andaman Nicobar Islands and also the particularly vulnerable tribes of India. From 1993 to 1996, I lived in Great Nicobar Island, where I devoted 3 years to study of Shompens, documenting their culture, subsistence, patterns, and biological adaptation. This was the first systematic enumeration of the Shompen population, and the findings were submitted to the Andaman and Nicobar administration and the Ministry of Environment and Forest, Government of India, which was funded the research. My work was not limited to numbers. It engaged deeply with the Shompen way of life, the forest and river basins, this sustained them, and the delicate balance of flora and fauna that underpins the survival. Today, as the Galathea River basin and adjoining east coast faces unprecedented transformation, the threat to the Shompen is not abstract, it is immediate. I stand here to draw upon this first-hand knowledge and urge that any vision of development for Great Nicobar must also safeguard the future of its people and environment. My central argument here is simple. Protecting the Shompens is not just a tribal issue. It is a moral, ecological and civilizational duty. Today, I invite you to reflect on one of the most urgent and least understood human rights and conservation challenges of our times. The survival of the Shompen, people of Great Nicobar Island. This small indigenous community stands at the edge of extinction. Their fate is now tied to decisions being taken in Delhi, Port Blair, and in global corridors of power about the future of Great Nicobar Island. India's government has proposed an ambitious 72,000 crore mega project, a transshipment port, an international airport, power plants, township, and defense installations. On paper, this project promises economic growth and strategic advantage in the Indian Ocean. But beneath those figures lies staggering ecological and social costs. For the Shompens, whose lives are interwoven with rivers, forests, and coastal zones, this project would mean irreversible loss of land, livelihood, and culture. Now, let us look into the ethnography of Shompen people briefly. Shompen are of world's most isolated communities, classified as particularly vulnerable tribal groups of India. Their present population is estimated only 181 individuals across 56 households. Unlike the Nicobaris, who have adopted Christianity and integrated into the regional economics, the Shompens continue to live semi-nomadic lives, relying on tubers, pandanus fruits, wild pigs, honey, and riverine fish, whatever available from the forest ecosystem. Their language, only partly understood, has no close relatives. Their worldview is shaped by animistic beliefs and intimate ecological knowledge. For them, rivers are lifeline, hills are sacred, and forests are both pantry and pharmacy. Their social organization built around small mobile bands rather than permanent villages. This dispersal is a deliberate survival strategy, ensuring resilience against epidemics, famines, or natural disaster. In anthropological terms, the Shompens represent one of the last remaining models of hunter foraging adopting in a tropical island ecosystem. Losing them would erase irreversible knowledge about the sustainable human evolution relations. For detailed ethnographic analysis, you may refer my book on future of endangered human populations and environment of Andaman and Nicobar Island, where I have detailed discussed about both cultural and biological, anthropological issues of Shompen tribe. Now let us discuss about the demographic distribution of the Shompen population. From 1993 to 1996, I have stayed in Great Nicobar Island for doing research on the Shompen tribe and also ecology and environment of Great Nicobar Island, where I have stayed prolonged period in Shompen hut and I conducted research. I have adopted anthropological methodology to attract the Shompens to come to the Shompen hut place and stay with me in the daytime for some time, and I used to cook the food and used to give them the food. It took me a long time for development of the rapport, and also I have engaged a field assistant, interpreter, field worker, a pharmacist and a doctor and a trekker and a jeep driver. You can see here my assistant Pillai and other field staffs also with me for helping. It is a very expensive expedition which I have made, and for this the Minister of Environment and Forest supported my research. Now let us look into briefly the Shompen demography which I have collected and given to the government of Andaman and also Ministry of Environment and Forests. Shompens are not clustered in one settlement but dispersed across 7 major camps, each tied to a river basin or geographical feature. The 35 kilometers camp near Shompen hut complex, 6 households where 23 people are living. Kotangari camp above the east-west road, 9 households, 22 people are living. Alexandria camp along Alexandria river, 10 households, 27 people are living. Dagmar camp near Pillokunji and Dagmar river, 7 households and the total population is 15. Kokian, Piloba, Singambasti, largest cluster, 11 households, 37 Shompens are living. Lawful and Trinket camp, 6 households, 21 people are living. 27 kilometers or Tiggu camp near Galathea river, 10 households, 36 people are inhabiting. In total, in my enumeration, 181 individuals are enumerated. Among them, 112 are males and 69 are females. This distribution shows 2 key patterns. The largest cluster is at Kokion, Piloba, Singambasti. That is the 20% of the Shompen population are inhabiting in this region. The Galathea Basin also supports nearly 1/5 of the total population. Thus, the very areas targeted for infrastructure, Galathea and Alexandria basins are also the heartland of Shompen survival. Any disturbance here would displace not just as households but entire cultural lifeways. Now, let us look into the Great Nicobar mega project proposed. The development plan includes a deep water transshipment port at Galathea Bay, a greenfield international airport, power plants, that is gas and solar based, a township for more than 3 lakh settlers, road degrading and defense facilities. The project is promoted as a way to rival Singapore, Hong Kong, and Colombo, to secure India's maritime presence and to create jobs. But for the Shompens, it is existential threat. Now let us discuss about the impacts of this proposed Great Nicobar Island project on the Shompen aborigines. First one is habitat destruction. Galathea Bay and Alexandrian River core Shompen zones will be bulldozed for ports, degrading and airports. Forests will be fragmented, hunting grounds lost, and sacred landscapes will be destroyed. Diseases risk. With fewer than 200 people, the Shompens are actually vulnerable. Past experience of the Great Andamanis and Wongis, Jarwas show that contact with the outsiders leads to respiratory infections, alcoholism, and population collapse. The third one is social disruption. Cash economics, alcohol, and wage labor could unravel kinship norms based on sharing. Already the Nicobaris have faced such pressures. Fourth one is loss of food sovereignty. Deforestation and pollution will reduce wild pigs, tubers, fish, and forcing dependence on governmental rations, eroding self-reliance. Fifth one is spiritual and cultural erosion. Destroying rivers and forests means erasing sacred geographies. As anthropologists remind us, replacement is not just physical, it is cosmological. Now let us look briefly environmental costs and biodiversity links of this proposed Great Nicobar Island project. Great Nicobar spans 921 square kilometers, of which 80% is rainforest. It shelters over 1,800 animal species and 800 plant species. Many are endemic. The Environment Ministry admits that 130 square kilometers will be cleared, nearly 1 million trees. Experts warn the real number is higher. For an island ecosystem, even a small scale clearance is catastrophic. Key threatened species include Nicobar long-tailed macaque, giant leatherback sea turtle, the world's largest marine turtle nesting at Galathea Bay, and saltwater crocodile, and many other species, especially the butterflies, which is famous for Great Nicobar Island. The fate of Shompen is inseparable from this ecology. As turtles need Galathea Bay, the Shompen needs intact forests and rivers. Destroying biodiversity is destroying culture. Historical neglect and lessons of Great Nicobar Island is the Shompens have long been marginal in Indian policy, undercounted in census, neglected in health and education, little voice in administration. In 2004, tsunami devastated Great Nicobar, but Shompens survived using ecological knowledge, shifting inland, replanting food sources. Their resilience is proven, but resilience cannot withstand industrial scale of disruption. Now, briefly analyze ethical and legal and anthropological dimensions of the proposed project. Constitutional safeguards. Article 366 and 342 recognizes scheduled tribes. PISA Act and Forest Rights Act 2006 protect forest people. International commitments. India is signatory to UNDRIP, that is United Nations Declaration on Rights of Indigenous People, requires prior consent for the projects. Anthropological value. The Shompens embody millennia of adaptation to island ecologies. Losing them means erasing irreversible human heritage. Now, I would like to briefly compare the Shompen tribes' plight echoes global patterns. Australian Aborigines, massive displacement during colonization. Today, land right frameworks exist, but health and cultural gaps remain. Native Americans of USA. Reservation systems often failed, but recent recognition of tribal sovereignty has helped some communities to revive. First Nations of Canada. Residential school trauma continues, but legal ruling now affirm indigenous land and cultural rights. Amazon tribes, Brazil, Peru. Logging dams and mining threatens isolated groups. No contact policies and reserves exist but are fragile. Andaman tribes in India, Jarwas, Great Andamanese, Wongis, struggling for their survival because of ecological environmental issues. This lesson is clear. Tribal survival only when their autonomy and habitation are respected. With this brief note, now let us frame a conservation pathways for the Shompen. How best you can conserve the Shompens presently. Legal protection of core zones. Galathea, Alexandria, Dagmar and Singham must be no-go industrial zones. Independent oversight panel with anthropologists, ecologists and tribal welfare experts. Biosecurity protocols. Strict limits on outsider entry to prevent epidemics. Cumulative impact assessment looking at biodiversity, climate and tribal survival together. Great Nicobar Tribal and Biodiversity Authority, a statutory body with enforcement power, should be created. International engagement, seek UNESCO Biosphere recognition and UNDP support for this development of Shompens. Alternative models, ecotourism, small-scale fisheries, renewable energy that respects tribal zones. Moral appeal to the policy makers who are working in the Great Nicobar Island project. This is not about rejecting development, it is about redefining it. In a shipping port with more than an entire people, the Shompens are not obstacles, they are partners in conservation. If they disappear, India loses not just a community but also its global moral standing. Once a culture vanishes, no money or technology can bring it back. Protecting the Shompen is protecting human diversity, ecological wisdom and India's conscience. We had a lengthy discussion about the Shompen conservation. Before concluding, let us summarize the discussions which you have made so far. Friends and colleagues, the Shompen are not mere number. Their 181 souls are a civilization in miniature. Their rivers, forests and coasts are lifeline. If we sever them, we extinguish not only a people but also our chances to learn a way of life in harmony with nature. I urge you, scholars, policymakers and decision makers, thoroughly understand about the Shompens and their habitation and the flora and fauna where they are inhabiting before launching the project, and safeguard and ensure them for their survival. Recognize the Shompens as a partners, not as an obstacles. Craft a model of progress that balances economics with ecology and human dignity. In saving the Shompens, we save a part of ourselves, the part that remembers how to live gently with the earth. Thank you very much for your kind hearing. I hope you enjoyed this discussion, and for detailed references you can refer my book which is available in internet also. The future of endangered human population and environment of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Please subscribe this channel to know more about ethnic cultures of India, and also forward this link to your friends, policymakers and also the students and scholars and group people to know more about Great Andaman Nicobar Island project. Thank you very much. Hope we will meet you in another discussion. Thank you very much.